Welcome to day 35 of the 300 Movie Challenge. Today we watched the highest grossing film of April 1997, which was The Saint. Go ahead, Valen.
So this movie was made by the 80s, for the 70s, and released in the 90s. That's the best way of describing this movie.
That is the best way to describe this movie.
It really is, though.
When he said that while we were watching, I think we were like a fourth of the way in, and we just started laughing hysterically.
It was probably the best part of this entire film.
The directing is so bad.
It's all over
So
the place.
bad.
Like, the tone is
Yeah.
really inconsistent.
The
Like-
music is really inconsistent.
Yeah, that's
So-
one of the main
With the
reasons.
music, okay, there were like 3 scenes back to back where there were 2 different tracks playing at the same time. There was this atmospheric music, and then there was like music the characters were listening to, and I was like, okay, pick one or the other.
Yeah,
when
and it
they
kept like switching between the scenes too, so it was
when they
like,
switched between
oh,
the
it's so
characters' points
distracting.
of views.
No,
The
but
music would also change.
the best part was that you always knew when the bad guys were coming.
Oh yeah, because the music was starting to play.
It's like Jaws.
And then like everyone seemed like to look like someone else.
Yeah.
Like the Russian guy's like son looked like John Travolta. The main guy looked like a skinny Arnold Schwarzenegger. It was weird.
The woman was like a blonde Kristen Stewart, and we were just like, what is even happening right now?
None of the characters held any emotion in any of their voices.
No.
No.
Especially the main guy, because the main guy was supposed to be like a spy and whatever, so he was supposed to have all these accents and stuff, but all his accents sounded horrible and atrocious.
And
All of
even
them were bad.
and even then, like, I get that they're but they're trying to act like, oh, he's this like really like charming person or whatever, and all the women are falling for him. But it's like he sounds so like boring and or pretentious, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and he didn't seem charming at all.
No, and like the whole romance with the woman or whatever just felt so like forced and out of nowhere, and you're like, what the heck is going on? Why is this apparently working?
No, the part where they were kissing under the car, and it's just like, yeah, that's very romantic
Yeah.
while a riot is going on.
Yeah.
Great time to be making out under a car in the middle of a protest in front of the U.S. Embassy where you could get clemency.
Gotta play that tonsil hockey.
Oh my god.
But yeah, and like, yeah, again, like the tone was everywhere. Like
The
sometimes,
tone was so awkward.
the very beginning was like super dark and depressing, right?
Yeah.
But then it got to like, there were parts that sounded like super like whimsy and stuff, and then it was just like goofy action scenes some other times.
Yeah.
That-
Action scenes were so hokey.
Yeah.
I was just like, is this a high school play? And that's an insult to high school plays.
It's just so ridiculously bizarre.
No, and then somehow, just magically, they would coincidentally find people that would be able to help them too. Like coincidentally,
And
They
then the
would-
bad guys would find them, and I had this comment where I was like, well, it was made in the 80s, so...
Yeah. Well, except it wasn't. It was released in 1997, so it's
Yeah.
like so bizarre how this
It's
happened.
closer to 2000 than it is to 1989.
Yeah. So it's so weird. It felt like it's like a cheesy 80s action movie that was trying to like embellish on like stereotypes of the 70s. It was just so bizarre that
yeah.
I
The
don't know.
hairstyles were bizarre.
Yeah. And like
Oh my...
I get I just have the whole like cold fusion thing just bothers me as like, a physics teacher. I'm just like,
Yeah.
here we go again with this nonsense, right? So that's just, Oh, and then like this is such a minor thing, but it annoyed me for some reason when like the guy like hands that like professor dude who's trying to work with the cold fusion machine. He hands him like a card with like the
Oh,
rest
yeah.
of the formula, and the guy stares at it for like 1 second and is like, "This is the key." I'm like, "How the fuck do you know that?" Like it was so fast. You like didn't even look at it.
like if it was the key, then how didn't he figure it out before?
Exactly. And like I saw it, there was like triple integrals and shit in there. It's like you can't piece that out in like a second of looking at it. I don't care if you're fucking Einstein, right? So that just annoyed me. But I don't know. It was again like the thing was nothing in this movie was terrible, really. Except the soundtrack was terrible.
The
right?
soundtrack is
and the
probably
directing
the
was-
worst.
The soundtrack
the
was
worst soundtrack out of all the movies we've seen.
The soundtrack was terrible, but everything else was just like meh, right?
The directing was bad though.
That was
like,
it was bad, but I still wouldn't say it was the worst one we've seen, right? So it's like
not the worst.
it's bad, but it's not like really bad. It's just kind of dumb and forgettable, right?
Yeah,
So
that's a good way to describe it. Dumb, forgettable, and then your opening statement.
yeah, and dumb and not worth your time. Because again, like it's not dumb in a funny way, right? This
No.
is dumb. So
It wasn't hilarious like Time Cop. For this one, we were mostly just sitting in silence, being like, "Is it over yet?"
yeah. No, honestly, like the first hour, I'm like I didn't feel like it was taking forever. Then for some reason, the second hour felt like twice as long as the first hour. So I don't
the
know.
first part was like kind of whatever, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, okay, we're halfway through.
The first part was confusing though.
Yeah.
Because they didn't like lay
There
down
was
the
no
plot.
setup at all.
Like the
you go
beginning
from him being in the orphanage to him being like a spy or like
Yeah. How
what,
did
a
how
thief?
did that happen?
Yeah.
How did even the whole connection? Why was the beginning scene of the orphanage even in the movie? Like it really doesn't serve any purpose.
No, except for that one flashback where he didn't want to jump, but then it's never elaborated on past that either.
Yeah, like literally they could have cut that and just changed like a few lines of dialogue and it would have been completely like wouldn't have changed anything, right? It's like because it made it seem like, oh, this is like some key to him as a character, but it's not, right? So it's just I feel like it would be better if they just kept it where like, oh yeah, here's this really mysterious guy who does this stuff and we don't know why, right?
Yeah,
that
they
just-
could have done the whole name thing later. It was fine if it was just later.
Yeah, it's just weird how that was like a part of the movie, and again, it was so unnecessary and totally just bleh. So
The only reason I can see why they did that was that they wanted to justify why the movie was called The Saint and why he used like names of saints and
Well,
stuff.
no,
but
like-
I feel like there's a better way to do that
Well,
though.
again, they could have it where, how the fact that he was the names of all these saints, right? They could have had that, like, still be in the movie. They could have had it explained where, like, oh, maybe, like, the role that he's taking, like, it does, like, actually mimic kind of, like, what that saint is known for or something. And then have that be
Yeah.
kind of, like, part of the puzzle piece of, like, other people trying to figure out who he is or something.
Yeah, you can
Right.
That'd
make
be
it
much better, yeah.
yeah, more like a mystery. Like you're trying to piece together the puzzle, even though like I'm not Catholic. I don't know Catholic saints or anything.
No,
like
I know,
that.
but I mean, like, because at least you're like, if you're like following, like, again, that like detective guy or something who is like trying to catch him or whatever for some reason, even though he like wasn't the bad guy. I don't know, but like, if the story was more from like his perspective of like trying to figure out what's going on,
that would be more interesting.
it would be more interesting. Instead, it's just
That
like,
said, actually, bring up a point with that, because how is she able to find him, but then everyone else was not able to figure out the thing with the saints' names?
yeah, I
She's-
don't know.
the love interest and
Ugh.
kind of a Mary Sue. So
Yeah,
whatever.
whatever. It's just not worth the effort. It's not even if again because it's not even like that bad. So it's like even if you want to like watch a bad movie for whatever reason, you wouldn't watch this.
No.
You'd watch something worse. So yeah, it's just forgettable. Hooray.
I guess that's that.
Yeah. At
There's
least
really not much to say.
there
I
really
don't
isn't.
think.
So
There wasn't a dog.
Was there?
There was no dog.
I don't think
Oh.
so.
Oh,
Oh
really?
no, there was one dog in one scene in the beginning in the orphanage with the German Shepherd, but
Oh
that
yeah.
was it.
The German Shepherd that like killed a girl by pushing her out the window or something.
Not out the window, off the banister.
Whatever, same damn thing. I don't care. Why should I care? I don't care about this movie. It's dumb.
Wait, how did she fall off the banister like
I don't
that?
know.
Yeah, when did she climb over?
Couldn't she have just, like, theoretically, couldn't they have all just escaped by going through that hole and getting to the other side if the banister was just like that? Did they really need to open the gate then?
I guess not.
I don't know.
Her death was for no reason at all.
I mean, it wasn't, again, because, like, it just didn't matter for the rest of the story either, pretty much.
I actually would have liked it better if she reappeared as the main girl. That would have been super cliche, but at least it would have given that first scene.
She's not dead! She rose from the dead and she's here to be with the saint.
Yeah, basically.
Even better.
They should have revealed that the guy who looked like John Travolta was actually the girl.
That would be great.
Was actually like a trans person or something, just like, hi.
Should have been revealed that the guy who looked like John Travolta was John Travolta.
Like in the movie universe, he like turns on his dad, a Russian person, and he's like, I'm actually John Travolta. It's like played by someone who's not John Travolta.
This review is more entertaining than the movie.
Yes. Oh god. Well, that said, even though this movie was super forgettable and boring, the next one won't be.
No.
No.
But the
have
next
not
one
seen
actually
the
has
first-
sequels.
I have
Yeah,
not seen the first movie of this though.
I have. I've seen a little bit of the first. I've seen like the first third quarter of the first movie.
I've seen the first scene of the first movie, of which I remember being very scared and not wanting to see the rest of it.
I can definitely imagine why.
That said, I am sad because the scene that I thought was in this movie, it's actually in the third one. So I'll have to wait until that movie to see that
Oh,
scene.
when are we watching? Actually, don't answer that yet. That'll be a spoiler.
Spoilers! But yeah, so we'll at least have a memorable time for the next one. I
At
guess.
the very
at
least,
the least,
I guess.
Oh boy.
it's something. Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Until next time.
We.